Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Supercharge Google Forms with Add-Ons. This session is part of a series of free webinars offered every week or two by the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. SPARC is an information technology center up here in Northeast Ohio where we support about 30 school districts. However, this webinar is open to everyone, and we'd like to welcome all the people who have joined us live today or are watching the recording in the future. My name is Eric Curts, and I'm a technology integration specialist here at SPARC, and I'll be your presenter for this session today. I am joined by my colleague, Anthony Luscre, and Anthony will be monitoring the chat doc. We'll talk about that in just a little bit and explain how to get into that. All of the information for today's session can be found at tiny.cc/SPARC, SPARCC 235. Now, if you're watching this live, you're probably already at that site, but if you're watching this recorded in the future, you might not be. So would definitely encourage you to go to that website. When you do, it will bring you over to this page right here. And this is the web page for this particular session. So if you scroll down here, you will find the live video that you guys are watching now, which will become the recorded video afterwards. So you can always come back to the exact same page you're at right now to be able to view this again or to share it with other people. Below that, you'll see a section for session resources. Now, not a whole lot of resources today, just a help guide and a slideshow. We're going to run through the slideshow together, but I've opened up the help guide in another tab so you can see that real quick. Basically, it's going to cover the material that we are covering as to what are add-ons, how do you install them, how do you then use them once they're installed, how do you remove them if you want to get rid of one, and then a list of add-ons that we're going to try to get through. Now, we may not get through every single one of these in the hour, but these are all Forms add-ons that I've had a lot of success with and really enjoy and definitely recommend. So that handout goes along with our session today and can be found right under the video. Now, below there's a section for the live session chat document. If you give that a click, it's going to open up a Google Doc, and you've got full edit rights to that. You can ask a question, share a comment, help each other as well. If somebody has a question and you know the answer, hey, please feel free to fill that in. Now, Anthony's going to be monitoring that document, so he'll do his best to put answers in there as well. And if for any reason there's something that doesn't get answered, he can let me know at the end of the session if we have a little bit of time to take a few questions, and I'll be glad to address those as well. Below that is the session evaluation, just a quick little Google form. If you don't mind filling that out afterwards, your feedback is always appreciated. And finally, hey, something in this for you. How about earning a certificate of attendance? Yes, when you're done watching the webinar, we have a short little quiz here at the bottom you can take. And once you pass that quiz, you'll be emailed a PDF certificate of attendance for 1 contact hour for watching the webinar. Fantastic. Now, while you're on the site, feel free to also check out a few other things we have there. We've got across the top a link to our upcoming PD schedule, so you can see all the other webinars that we have on the horizon. And then next to there is a tab for our recorded trainings. We're actually up to 33 recorded webinars already. So there's a ton of topics there on a lot of Google related things, but educational technology in general. Definitely check those out. While you're there, there's also a newsletter link at the top. You can sign up for our Spark Lines newsletter so that you can stay in the loop on all the new things we're doing and webinars and PD opportunities. And finally, there's a link there for contacts so you can get in touch with me or Anthony if you need to. Fantastic. All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll just head back to the page. Very good. And jump on over to our slideshow and let's get started. So our agenda for today is we're going to start by talking about what are add-ons, how to find and install them, how to remove them if you decide there's one you don't want. And then after that, we're pretty much just going to spend the bulk of the time going through a whole bunch of add-ons that I think are excellent options for schools to use. What you need to be successful in this session, you will need a Google account. It can be a regular Gmail account, that's perfectly fine, or Google Apps account. And of course, you'll need access to Google Forms since we are looking at add-ons for forms. it would help to have a general understanding of Google Forms. We're not really going to turn this into a session about how to use Google Forms. There's plenty of information on our previous webinars on that. So if you want to learn more about that, I'll show you real quick. If I head back over to the tech integration page and go to the recorded trainings, I've done 2 of them already, one on basic online assessments with forms and another on advanced online assessments with forms. And those have a lot of great information on how to use Google Forms. So if you don't know anything about forms, there's some wonderful resources there to get you guys started as well. This one, we're going to be focusing just on the add-ons. All right, so on with the session. Don't forget, tiny.cc/spark, SPARCC 235 is where all the resources are at. All right, so let's start off with a little overview of Google Forms add-ons. So first thing first, Google Forms itself. I guess we'll do a quick overview of that in case you're not familiar. Google Forms is one of the pieces of the Google Drive suite. So you've got docs and sheets and slides and drawings and forms. Now, forms lets you create surveys, quizzes, questionnaires, polls, pretty much any kind of form that you could normally have on paper, you can convert into an electronic digital form with Google Forms. It supports 9 different types of questions that you can use. You can also insert images, you can insert videos. It can be anonymous, which makes a lot of sense for polls and questionnaires and things like that. Or it can collect usernames, like if you're doing a quiz and you want to make sure you know who the student is. Basically, you create a form, you share it online for other people to complete, and as they do, the data gets collected into a Google Sheet in the background. And there's much, much more to forms beyond just that, but that's the gist of what Google Forms is about. Now, add-ons. Well, here's the idea. Even though Forms is awesome, and it really is, I absolutely love Google Forms. I think it is such a powerful program that has so many applications in a school situation. Even though it's awesome, well, it doesn't do everything. Now, Google's always adding new features, but in the meantime, Google also allows third-party developers to create what are called add-ons, which give you extra features, things that are not normally found in Google Forms. Now, who knows, maybe someday Google will add these as features that are just built in, but until that time comes, we can use add-ons as well. All right, so how do you install add-ons? Now, fair warning, everything I'm going to be showing you today is in the new version of Forms. Now, I say new as of March 2016. You could be watching this recording sometime in the future, and it won't be the new version of Forms anymore. It'll be the normal version by that point. But for a lot of us, we have just recently switched over from the old version of Forms to the new version of Forms. I am not going to be referencing the old version at all. I mean, everything works the same. I mean, all the add-ons, they all work and all that's fine. It's just the buttons are kind of in different spots, but I will be using the new version of Forms for all of my examples here today. So how do you get to add-ons? Well, I'll fire up a form here in just a moment and show you that. But the general idea is in the top right-hand corner, there's these little 3 dots in your form, which is actually the More button. And if you click that, you can go down to a section called Add-ons that will get you into an Add-ons menu. And once you get into that Add-ons menu, you can browse through all the add-ons that are there. And when you find one you like, you click the plus free button and that installs it. So let's try that out. So I'm going to open up Google Drive over here. I've already got it open. So I'm going to pop over to my Google Drive tab, and I'm actually in the folder for our webinar today. I'll just use that folder since we've already got a bunch of stuff in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new Google form just to show you the idea of finding and installing an add-on. So from Google Drive, I'll go to the top left-hand corner here where the big happy red new button is. Give that a click. And from the drop down there, I'll go down to More and then Google Forms. Google Forms does get hidden a little bit. It's not in the top tier. You got to go down to More, and then from there you can get to Google Forms. And let's go ahead and create a new Google form. Give that a moment to pop up. There we go. And so here is a nice blank, simple new Google form, again, using the new Google Forms option rather than the old version. And in the very, very top right-hand corner, like I mentioned, there's these 3 little vertical dots. If I hover above them, it says More. That's the More button. If I give that a click, I get a drop down. And from that drop down, one of the options is Add-ons. If I give a click on Add-ons, it now opens up the add-on browser. Now, if you're used to add-ons in Google Documents or Google Sheets, same idea. And that's an important point to mention. Add-ons don't exist for every program. They work in Forms and Docs and Sheets. At the moment, there are no add-ons for Google Slides and Google Drawings. Now, I'm hoping in the future that won't be the case, that, maybe if you're listening again in the future, maybe it's not the case anymore. I would love for there to be add-ons for Sheets and Drawings, or excuse me, for Slides and Drawings, but there's not at the moment. So it's just Forms, Docs, and Sheets. Having said that, add-ons only work within the program you install them for. So if I install Gmath for Forms, it doesn't automatically show up in Docs and Sheets. There is a Gmath for Docs and Sheets, but I'd have to install it separately for those programs. So basically, this is the browser, and you just kind of scroll down and you look to see the add-ons that are there. Now, there's not a ton for Forms. It's growing all the time. We're getting more and more and more. There's not a ton, though, compared to the other programs. So let's say I find one I'm interested in. So I'm going to grab Form Ranger. Now, Form Ranger is one of them on our list for today. I don't know that we're going to get a chance to really do too much with it, so this will maybe be the covering a Form Ranger for us today. So if I find an add-on that I go, hey, this looks kind of interesting, what I can do is just hover on that add-on and just give a click on it. And when you do, it's going to pop up a screen where you get more information about the add-on. This can be a great way to decide, do I really want to install this? What does it do? Is this worth using? Normally, you'll get some pictures you can scroll through here that will show you how the program works. Sometimes there's even a video here you can play, like a YouTube clip, and that's great. Below that, if you scroll down, there'll be a section called the Overview where you can read more about the add-on. That can be really helpful to get a better idea of what does this thing actually do. And then below that is a section of user reviews. Again, very helpful to read what have other people said about this add-on. And Form Ranger has a lot of really nice 4-star, 5-star ratings, a lot of good comments. So that would be encouraging for you to say, yeah, I think this looks like a good add-on. You can also look up at the top here and see how many users there are. We've got over 54,000 users for Form Ranger. If you look at all that and decide, yep, I think this is a pretty cool add-on, which, by the way, if you don't know what Form Ranger does, basically it allows you to dynamically populate the options in a form. So if you've got a question, instead of you typing in all the possible responses and the multiple choice or the checkboxes, you can point to a column in a Google Sheet, and it pulls from that column and it throws those options in for the answers. That column could be something that you're typing in or that's being calculated by some spreadsheet formulas. It could be a column that is coming from another form that then feeds this form. So it's pretty neat, a lot of options for it. If you decide, hey, I think I do want Form Ranger, all you have to do in the top right, you see a big happy blue plus free button. Give that a click and it'll ask permission. Add-ons always say, here's what they need to be able to do. Do you want to give it permission? Scroll down, 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 down. Click the allow button, and as simple as that, the add-on gets installed. Now, the important thing to realize here is this is a one-time process. You don't have to install the add-on every time you want to use it on a new form. It's being installed not to your computer, not to this particular form, it's being installed to your account. So anytime using my same account that I go to Google Forms, that add-on will now be available for me. Okay. Of course, I can get rid of it and then reinstall it. But the nice thing is I don't have to reinstall it just to use it over and over again. So that's how you install an add-on. Let's head back over to the slideshow and talk about how do you launch them after you've installed them. Well, the idea is after they've been installed, you'll get this little puzzle piece add-ons icon up here in the top right-hand corner. And it won't be there until you have some add-ons, but once you start installing them, it'll show up. And if you click that, you'll get a drop-down showing you the add-ons you have, and you can just pick an add-on from there to launch. So if I go back over to my form and I go up to that little puzzle piece up here in the top right, give that a click, you will see I've got a list of different add-ons that I can now click on to launch. And we'll be launching a whole bunch of these throughout our session here today. All right. Fantastic. Last thing before we get into a survey of all these wonderful add-ons is what if you decide, I really didn't care for that add-on. I don't need it. I want to get rid of it. You absolutely can do that. So to do that, you basically repeat the same process you did to install the add-on. You open up the add-ons window, you find the add-on, and then there's a manage button you can click, which then allows you to choose remove. So let me go through that process. We'll go ahead and remove Form Ranger so you can just see that. Again, you go up to the 3 dots, the little more button, and you go back down to add-on. So it's just like when you went to install the add-on, you're going to do the same thing to uninstall the add-on. So go to the 3 dots, go down to add-ons, find the add-on you want to get rid of, in this case, Form Ranger. Now, nothing wrong with Form Ranger, just using that as an example. And when you hover above Form Ranger, you'll see I get a Manage button. Normally, it's a plus free button to install it. After it's been installed, it turns into a green Manage button. Go ahead and click on the Manage button, and you get a little drop down, and you can choose Remove from the drop down list there. And at that point, simple as that, it uninstalls the add-on. Now, you can always add it back with the plus free button, but it takes it out of there as quickly as that. And that's it. That's how you get rid of an add-on if you don't want to keep it. All right, guys, well, let's go ahead now and try to get through as many of these as we can in the time that we have. We'll do our best to hit these. Some of them I'm going to move pretty quickly because, again, I want to make sure we get through a lot of these, and some of them are very simple. They just do a very simple little task, and so we will move kind of quickly through some of them, spend a little bit more time on some other ones. As always, if you have questions, please be using the chat doc, and Anthony is going to keep on watching that, and let me know if there's any issues as we go through. All right, and I'll close out of that form. We don't need that guy anymore. All right, let's get going. So the first add-on, these are not in any particular order, other than I kind of put some of the simpler, easier, quicker to use ones at the front and save some of the bigger ones for the end in case we run out of time. So we can get as many in as we can. Okay, so Choice Eliminator 2 is the first one. Basically what Choice Eliminator does is it allows you to create a form where you've got a multiple choice question or a checkbox question, something like that. And as people make a choice in that form, it then removes that choice from future uses of the form. So, for example, let's say you want students to pick a topic for their research paper, and you've got a list of all these famous Americans. Well, the first student who gets there and chooses George Washington and hits submit, well, the next time a student goes there, George Washington won't be in the list anymore. It actually just disappears. I've done an example for all of these. So let me go ahead and pull up Choice Eliminator here. So I'm going to pop back over to our folder, and I'm going to find Choice Eliminator. And again, I've already pre-made these to try to save a little bit of time today. So as much as possible, I've already created these forms. I've just left off the spot where I use the add-on. So again, not really going to go through how to make the form. Please refer to some of our previous webinars on creating forms if you want that as well. And I'll add on our on the resource page. I actually have a couple other form tutorials. So I'll add those on, and I'll expand out that resource a little bit further if you do need those. They're not on there right now, but I'll swing back around after the webinar and put those underneath the video as well. So here's Choice Eliminator, or here's a form that I'm going to use Choice Eliminator with. And you'll notice it's just a single question. It's very simple. I said, choose a time for your conference appointment. So let's pretend it's parent-teacher conference or whatever the case might be. And I've got appointments from 4 o'clock to 7:30. And I want people to choose which time they want to use. All right, so I've already got my question set up. And if I go up to my add-ons button, I've already got Choice Eliminator 2 installed. So it's already there, ready to go. I don't need to install it again. So let me go ahead and click on Choice Eliminator 2 to fire that up. And when it does, it opens up a little window asking if I want help or if I want to configure it. Well, I'm going to say I want to configure it. And now it's going to open up a panel. And this is very normal. Most add-ons work this way. They typically pop up a little panel on the side, give you some options, and then they do their thing. So in this case, what it's doing is it's going to ask me to choose which question am I going to use to turn on the option for eliminating choices there? Well, right now there's only one, and that's choose a time for your conference. If I had other questions, there'd be a whole list of questions down the side. I just have one question. So I'm going to click on choose a time for your conference, and then all I have to do is check the box that says eliminate choices. And if I check that, then basically it's saying at this point from here on out, anytime somebody takes this form and fills it out, this question, choose your conference appointment, it's going to eliminate whatever choice somebody makes. Now, that's pretty simple, but it does get a little bit more sophisticated if you want. There is a little gear next to there where if I want to, I can click that little gear and I can dig in a little bit deeper, including saying, you know what? I actually have room for more than just one person at each of these. Maybe it's not a conference. Maybe we're signing up for, maybe it is like choosing a famous American to write about, and more than one person is allowed to choose that same famous American, for example. Well, you can come in here and you can change the limit so that it's not necessarily just one. It could be 2 or 3 before it gets eliminated. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'll go ahead and leave it just at 1 so we can see it, but be aware you've got that option. And that's pretty much it, guys. At that point, it's turned on. So let's see it in action. So at this point, I've got 4 o'clock through 7:30, half an hour each time. If I come up here to my button to view my form, the little eyeball button up here in the top, let's open up my form. There's my form. And I say, okay, let's pick a time. So watch what we do. We're going to pick 4 o'clock and it should disappear. So I'm going to choose 4 o'clock. It's always great when you do these things live. You never know. Hopefully everything works great today, but let's see. So if I choose 4 o'clock and I hit submit, at that point, I've chosen 4 o'clock. So if I come back around to my form now, well, you'll look at that. 4 o'clock is not even there anymore. It starts at 4:30. So it's been eliminated as quickly as that. So if I go to view my form again, 4 o'clock's not even there anymore. So maybe I choose, 6 o'clock and I submit that. And again, as that happens, it will automatically update and boom, now 6 o'clock isn't in there. So that's Choice Eliminator 2, an awesome extension, very easy to use, a great way to limit how many times people can choose a choice. All right, let's keep on going. What's our next one to look at? Next up is form values. Now, form values allows you to have a pre-made list of answers that you use a whole lot. So you're always using the same list of things. Maybe it's student names, or maybe it's buildings in your district. In my case, because I work at Spark and I serve about 30 school districts, there's a lot of times I create a form and one of the questions is pick your district. Well, I don't want to have to type those in every single time or go hunt them down and copy them and paste them. I know that's not hard to do, but form values allows me to save them ahead of time so that I can just paste them in anytime I need to. So let's try that. So let's find form values. Here it is. I've got a form ready for that. And so basically form values, I've made a question, and the question is simply choose your school district. And I don't really have any options, just one option. I'm choosing a drop-down menu for my for this particular form question. So let's say I want to insert all of my school districts into that list there. Okay, so by having the question, choose your school district, I now go up to my add-ons, and from there I choose form values in the drop-down. Now when form values opens up, I can choose to use or create my choices. Now I've already created them, but I'll show you how that works too. So here we go. It opens up the panel and there is a blue button that says create or edit your value list. Now again, I've already done this, but I'll click it to show you what it looks like. If I give a click on this, this is where the form values are stored. It's a spreadsheet. And so they've got some pre-built letters, teachers, trees. I didn't actually create those. I did one called districts. And so down here are all the districts that I need to use over and over and over and over again whenever I'm creating forms. So I basically just typed in districts and put them all down below there. So now how do I use it? Well, what I do is I choose which question I want to apply it to. And again, I only have one question, choose your school district. Obviously, normally I'd have a bunch of questions to choose from. And then next, choose a value list. So not letters, teachers, or trees. I'm going to go with districts. So I choose districts and I click submit. And as soon as I do that, it's going to grab those values and give that a second to reload. There it is. Going to grab those values and it's going to paste them right in, and look at that. Choose your school district. All of those are now pasted in for me, as simple as can be. So that's just a nice, convenient way to have those handy. Yes, I know you can copy and paste from a Word doc. You can copy and paste from a Google Doc or from a text file, but it's just nice to not have to go hunt down and search it, just to have it right there in that list. All right, that's form values. Let's keep going. What's up next? Our next one is formLimiter. formLimiter allows you to turn off a Google form when you've reached a certain date and time, or when you received a certain amount of responses. Now, you may not have even known you can actually turn off a Google form. If you didn't know that, you can do that. So let's open up the formLimiter example. So here's formLimiter, and I'll show you, first of all, that you can do this manually, okay? So for example, if I create this form, and in this case, it's just like a sign-up form. So I've got enter your name to sign up. So we're just going to type in, my name to submit. I'm signing up for, whatever it might be. Again, all these forms would typically be much longer and I have a lot more in them, just doing this as an example. Now, manually, I can go to the responses tab up here at the top, and over here is a slider that says accepting responses. I can turn that off and turn that back on. So your form does not have to be live all the time. You can, on your own, turn it off and turn it back on. Well, the thing is, that's manual. You have to go click it. Well, what if you didn't want to click it? What if you wanted it to happen automatically? Like, hey, you can take this quiz until midnight on Thursday, or for example, or whatever. Or you can sign up for something until there's 30 people who have signed up, whatever the case might be. So if you have a particular need to set a limit and you don't want to be sitting there monitoring it the whole time, you can use formLimiter. So how does it work? Well, come up to the little add-ons button, the puzzle piece, go down to formLimiter to bring that up. And it says, what do you want to do? I want to set a limit. And once that comes up, I now have down the side an option to choose what kind of limit I want to set. And the choices I have include date and time, maximum number of responses, or a cell value from a spreadsheet. So you can get really fancy. If you've got a spreadsheet somewhere that's doing some crazy fancy calculations, you can actually point to that spreadsheet to have the formLimiter get triggered. I'm just going to say maximum number of form responses. And at that point, I'm going to say, we'll take 3 responses. Now, technically, it's going to be 4. I know it's kind of weird. You just got to go one number below, at least from my experience, because it says when the number of responses is greater than that, then it gets turned off. So you can do 3. The 4th person actually is able to submit. And then at that point, you've gone above the limit and then it turns off. At least that's been my experience. So pick a number 1 below what you're trying to stop at. And that's pretty much it. You tell it the number. Now, if I didn't do a number, I could have also set a date and time. And then you just put in the day and you put in the time, and it allows you to pick the date and time. Very, very, very simple to do. I'm just going to do maximum number, and I'll say 3 submissions, which is really 4. And I'll hit save and enable. And let's see if it works. Okay, so we've got that saved. Let's go ahead and we will go view our form. And what we want to do is sign up. So we'll come here and we'll have user 1. We'll do user 1. We'll have him sign up. And excellent. He's signed up. And so 1 person has now signed up. So now let's go and view it again. Still working fine. Let's do user 2. Let him sign up. He got in, no problem. Okay, still doing good. 2 responses. Let's go again, and we're up to user 3. We still should be fine. Shouldn't be hitting a limit yet. Submit that. And now we've reached our limit, but again, it says when it's greater than that, so we should be able to get 1 more in. Yes, this should be user 4, and at this point, that should be the end of it. And let's see. So at this point, if somebody else tries to see it, it should say that it's been turned off. Let's go to view it and look at that. The form is no longer accepting responses and has been automatically closed by Eric Curts. All right. So that is formLimiter. You set a time and date, or you set a maximum, or you point to a spreadsheet cell that you want to use as the trigger to turn this off. Fantastic. Of course, you can turn it back on. Just go to responses and you can just slide that manually to turn it back on if you want. All right, good stuff. Let's keep going. Next up on the list, we have CheckItOut. CheckItOut is a nice add-on if you want to check out data projectors, Chromebooks, something simple like that. And really all you need to know is it in or is it out? We just want to be able to keep track of what is available and what isn't. All right, so let me find my CheckItOut form. Here it is. And so what I've got here is just a simple blank form, nothing too fancy about it. And I'm actually I'm not going to type anything in yet. I'm going to start by running the add-on because it's kind of like a wizard that talks you through the process. So I'm not actually going to build my form just yet. Now I could, of course, put in, what's your name and all that kind of stuff, which you would do certainly if you were really doing a check it in, check it out kind of a thing. You'd ask for their name or you'd collect their name or something like that. But I'm going to go ahead and go up to my add-ons. I'm going to go down to check it out. And it's going to ask me to add or edit my question set. So give that a moment to pop up. And it's going to say, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to make a new question? Yes, I do. And what is the thing that we are checking in and out? Well, in this case, I'm going to say we're checking in and out data projectors, just for an example, just so we have something to use as an example there. Below there, what type of a question is this going to be? Is it, check boxes, choose from a list, multiple choice? Well, I mean, if you do check boxes, somebody could, I guess, check out more than one at a time. That would be fine. So we could just do check boxes. I guess that's okay. And then it wants to know what information to put when everything's checked out or everything's checked in. And so that's the text that it will use for that. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and hit add. And it's creating that question for me. Give that a moment. Okay, so there's my question. And it says, okay, so this is to check out data projectors and to check them in. So let me come here where it says enter your items. So right here, I want to put all the projectors that somebody could check out. So I'm going to go ahead and paste those in. Boink, there we go. And hit done or click off of that to be done. And so there we go. And my first question again, I guess, we don't really need this first question, but it could be like, what's your name or something like that. I'll go ahead and take that question out. All right. So we basically have two questions. Question one, check out the data projectors. Question two, check in the data projectors. So here's the way it works. If somebody comes to this form now, they will see what is currently available to be checked out or what has been checked out. And if they choose one of these and check it out, it will move it down to the other list waiting to be checked back in. Aha. So let's go ahead and let's view this form. So here it is. It says, hey, let's check this. And again, normally you'd have, fill in your name and all that kind of stuff as well. But I'm just going to say, I need to check out projector 2 for whatever reason. And I go ahead and hit submit. And again, I'm checking out projector 2. Hit submit. It says, thank you. That's great. Now, if we come back to the form, would you look at that? Projector 1, 3, and 4 are available, but 2 has been checked out. So if somebody comes to the form now, they're going to see that only 1, 3, and 4 are available. Or if I'm the person who checked out 2, I could check it back in and it would move it back over to that list. Now, of course, it would make sense if you're doing this in your spreadsheet that is collecting all of these things, you'd probably want to have it turned on so that it collects their username and that it timestamps it. So all that stuff's being recorded in the spreadsheet as well, so you can see who actually did check it out. But that's a great one for managing those sort of items. All right, keep on going. Next up, Form Recycler. Form Recycler is an add-on that basically lets you use questions from other forms. Maybe you put together this awesome quiz or this survey and you really don't want to just have to recreate the whole thing, but you only need a couple of questions out, or you need 2 from this form and 3 from that form. And how do you get them all done? Well, I mean, you could copy one, but that's a lot of work to do that for all of them. So Form Recycler to the rescue. So how does that one work? Well, let's go ahead and fire up Form Recycler. So here is my pre-made form. And let's say I would like to use some questions from a previous webinar. We did one way back on Google Drawings for graphic organizers. And that one had a few questions in it, but it also had some pictures in it. I want to show you this works for pictures as well, not just for questions. All right, so here is my basically blank form. If I go up to my little puzzle piece add-on and I go down to Form Recycler and go ahead and launch that, I can choose Recycle Form Questions. And now it's going to ask me to go find the form I want to use. So let me come in here and let me look for the one on Google Drawings. Let me see if it finds it quick enough there. Google Drawings for graphic organizers. Okay, it looks like it's starting to find it there. Google Drawings for graphic organizers. And we'll run a search for that. And there it is, webinar quiz, Google Drawings for graphic organizers. So we're going to grab that quiz and we're going to select it. And what it's going to do is it's now going to list all of the questions that were in that original form. And then I can just pick the ones I want. So I don't have to pull everything in. It's not going to grab like the whole entire, unless I want it to. It's not going to grab everything. It's just going to grab the ones that I want it to grab once it does load those in. And I might have picked one with a whole bunch of stuff in there. So it does look like it is taking it just a little bit of time to load. Give that a moment. And if it doesn't, that's okay. We'll grab a different one if for some reason that one is not loading in quickly enough. And it does not look like it is loading in very quickly. Oh, we might have to grab another example. That's too bad. That one's not coming up real fast. Well, hey, we've made it to 406 without a technical problem. That's not too bad. Let's try that again. Form recycler. We'll pick a different one. I think I've got a copy of that one that might load a little faster. So we'll try it one more time. Let's see. So that was Google Drawings for graphic organizers. And let me try my copy of that. Let me see if that one opens up a little faster than the original. And if not, oh, that's too bad. Well, we can just come back to it too. I can let it just sit here and run. It just may need a little bit of time to go out and grab that because it just might be running a little bit slow there. Yeah, it's okay. We'll let it do its thing, and then we'll swing back around to it. We'll check on it in between, and we'll see if it has come up by then. And if not, like I said, I can grab another form. That may have been a bad choice, the one that I chose. But so we'll let that sit for a moment, and then we'll swing back around to it. And I have used it. Wonderful. It is a great add-on. All right, next one up. Now, this is a biggie, Gmath. A lot of people know this one because it does show up in Google Docs and Google Sheets as well. It's a great one for Google Forms because it allows you, if you're a math teacher or a science teacher, to be able to put in things that are more mathematical or have special notation that are harder to put into a form normally. So let's go ahead and let's try a couple quick examples in Gmath and see how it works. I'm going to peek and see. Oh, it's still running. Hasn't gotten there yet. Okay, we'll come back to it. Okay, so let's go to Gmath here. And here's my Gmath form. And now that I've got that open, again, I don't have anything in it. I'm just going to build this from scratch with Gmath. I'm going to do a couple of questions just to show you how you can use Gmath. So if I come up to my little add-ons button in the top and I come down and I choose Gmath for forms, what I get is a big list of different things I can create. Maybe I want to make a math expression, or maybe a graph, or maybe a chart, a statistical display, or a handwriting entry, or a multiple choice question, or even deploy this. And hopefully I can show you that. Hopefully, enough time I can show you how that works. Let me do a math expression first. And here's the way Gmath works. Over here on the side, what I get is a menu where I can pull from a lot of pre-made mathematical symbols, things like exponents and matrices and fractions. And I can click on these over here on the side, and I can build my question that I want to insert into the form. Because normally all you can type in is regular text. You really can't put mathematical expressions in. But Gmath, what it does is it creates an image. It makes a picture for the math problem, and it sticks that picture into the form separately from your question. So that's how it gets around that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to clear out the demo one they've got here for me. And I'm going to go ahead and say, let me do a fraction. So let me add a fraction. And when I do that, it gives me a little formula here for fraction AB, which makes A over B down here in the right-hand bottom corner. So I can go in and change the A and the B to be whatever I want them to be. It doesn't have to be A over B. It can be numbers. So let's do something like, oh, I don't know, 4 plus 2. And then maybe I want to multiply that by something. I'll come back to that. Let me do the bottom here. Instead of B, we'll say something like 3 minus 1. And for that 2, instead of being just a 2, maybe I want it to be like 2 times something. So let's come down and let's find the times button. I just went right by it. Did I not? Let me find my little times button here. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I am probably missing it here. I'm probably looking right at it and going right by, I see the X for times, but I was looking for the little dot. There it is. I found it. I knew I was looking at it. There it is. A times B. All right. And so instead of A again, we'll make that the 2. And then instead of times B, we'll make it the 6. There we go. And so basically all you're doing is using their pre-made formulas, and you're just filling in place of A's and B's, you're putting in your numbers and your letters. So I could have a problem like 4 plus 2 times 6 divided by 3 minus 1, which normally I couldn't just put into a form because it's a fraction and that there's no way to really type that easily into the form. At that point, all I do is click the insert button, and it's going to insert 2 things. It's going to insert a picture of the mathematical expression, and then it's going to insert a blank question to go along with it, because really it's 2 separate things, the question and the mathematical expression that's an image. The image and the question are 2 separate things. So let me click insert and give it a moment to do its thing, and there it is. So now over here on the side, and we won't use question 1, I'll just get rid of that question. There we go. I now have 2 things. I've got my image, and then I've got my question that goes with it. So there's my image, there's my question. And that's the way forms works. Images and questions are 2 separate things. They're not actually hooked together technically. So for the image, maybe, or for the question, maybe I'll say something like this. Let's say, simplify the expression shown below in figure 1. And then for the possible answers, let's make this multiple choice. We'll throw in 2, 8, 9, and 18. Okay. Now over here, I'll actually put in for the title of this, I'll call it figure number 1. And since I said below, I actually can drag it down. So I'll drag it down below my question, and there we go. So the question is simplify the expression shown below in figure 1, and then figure 1 shows the actual expression, and then people could go ahead and solve that. Now, you can do other things besides that. You could come back to Gmath and you can insert a graph. I've got an example, but for the sake of time, I want to get a few more things in, so I'm not going to show that one. That's okay. Then the statistical display is more like a bar graph. Handwriting entry is awesome. You can just use your mouse, depending on how good you are with your mouse, and you can draw whatever you want to put into the form. But what I want to show you just really neat on the very end here is what's called deploying Gmath. And this is a little bit trickier when you do the deploying, because what it lets you do is it lets the student use Gmath to fill out the answers to the questions. So let's say I go ahead and add another question here, and we'll say something like this. I'm going to add a question. And the question will be simplify the expression shown in figure 2. We'll just do this for figure 2. We'll let it be a short answer, and let's drag that one down. And then I'm going to put below there a Gmath expression for people to work out. And I've already pre-typed it, so I'm going to save a little bit of time, just make it a little bit faster here. Boink. And it's x to the 5th power divided by x to the 3rd power. So let me insert that. And once that gets in there, give that a moment. Oh, it's already in there. It was faster than I thought. Oh, don't need that one. So now I've got my question, which is simplify the expression shown in figure 2. And then figure 2 is x to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd. Well, the thing is, and we can make that bigger if we want. I can stretch that out if that's a little hard to see. Whoops, got a little bit fuzzy there. Not that big, Eric. Let's make it a little bit smaller there. Oh, now it's going to be too big. That's okay. Well, you get the idea. I can shrink that up eventually here, but it's giving me a little bit of trouble at the moment. Oh, that's okay. We'll just leave it like that. X to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd. The point is, for a student to answer that, they can't just type in x squared, because there's no way to do that on just an easy regular keyboard. So instead, they can use Gmath to add that in if I deploy Gmath with it. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Let me add one last one here. I'm just going to do one last example, and then we'll deploy this. What if I come here and I add another question, and for this question I say, draw an example of a trapezoid, and we'll make that a short answer as well. And so again, I want the students to be able to just literally draw a trapezoid in their quiz. So now I've got a quiz that has 3 questions. Simplify this one, and draw a trapezoid. Now, they could answer the first by clicking the buttons. They can't answer the second one easily because there's no way for them to just type in x squared. And they definitely can't answer this one, draw a trapezoid, because you can't draw inside of a form unless I come back up to my menu for add-ons and I go to Gmath for forms and I choose deploy Gmath for responses to this form. Now, if I do that, what it does is it allows me to get a special link, and we'll turn on the trigger here so that this runs automatically. And it gives me a special link, if I copy this link, that if I give this deployed URL, this special link to the students, watch what happens. My form loads up on one side and Gmath loads up on the other side. How about that? So now they can actually use Gmath to submit their answers to the form. So I could say, okay, well, what's the answer to this one? We'll say 2. And if I want to simplify this, x to the 5th over x to the 3rd, I can't actually type in x squared, but I could come over here and take x to the a power, and then I could put in a 2 instead of an a, and I could create my answer there, click on create to paste, and it gives me a code that I can simply come in and copy that code. And as the student, I can paste that code in. Now, it looks crazy, but it actually will translate in the spreadsheet into the image of x squared. And so I'm using Gmath to get a special code to answer these. Same thing for the drawing one. If I want to draw, I can come over here and I can choose the handwriting entry, and I could draw. It's not going to be very good, but I'll try. I could draw a trapezoid. And after I draw, oh boy, that's a terrible trapezoid. I click the insert button. It again gives me a link here. It gives me a special code that I can copy. And after I copy that, I can paste that in for my answer. And so I'm not actually seeing the trapezoid here, and I'm not actually seeing the x squared here, but I will see them on the other end as the teacher in the spreadsheet. So Gmath cannot just be used for you to create cool mathematical expressions in a form. It can also be used for your students to turn in answers that use symbols and mathematical expressions and images. And it wouldn't even have to be math. If you're having them draw a picture, that could work for any subject. Anything you want them to draw, they could draw and then submit it. So let's go ahead and submit this. And now that that's been submitted, let's go ahead and let's go to our spreadsheet and let's take a look at the response. So what comes in here is a little hard to see from here, but I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see this a little bit better. What it does is it gives me, of course, the time and date. And then over here, it gives me the code that got submitted. Now, sometimes the code immediately turns into an image. If for some reason it doesn't, you can just click on the code and there's a little apostrophe at the start. If you take that apostrophe out, then it renders the image. That apostrophe kind of like makes it not show up. So again, if you do see that problem, just click on it and just take that apostrophe out. And whoops, try that again, Eric. Take that apostrophe out and then let it draw the image in. And if you can't see the image real well, you can make this taller. And there you go. So now you can see in the spreadsheet the actual trapezoid they drew, and you can see the mathematical expression they submitted. So really creative way until Google does something new with forms that lets us do rich text and things like that. What a creative way that it allows you to be able to add things with symbols and superscripts and subscripts and drawings. All right, very good. Let's keep on going. Oh, our form recycler still didn't come through. That is a shame. I really did want to show you that. I will try one other form instead of that one. I'll just grab one that's different than that. I feel bad that one didn't come through. I'll just grab, maybe Anthony, I'll steal one of yours. I saw one of yours in the list there. You're navigating Google Drive. Was that one of yours? Maybe yours are going to play nicer than one of my old ones. I know that my old ones I had made with my other account, so it is possible that that was one of those old ones that wasn't working. So, or Form Recycler just might be having a bad day. I still don't want you to give up on it, though. I have used it. It is a really nice one. All right, can we squeeze a couple more in here? I hope so. Just a few more. docAppender. Now, docAppender, you've heard me talk about if you watched my webinar on rubric tools. It's a really nice add-on that serves well for things like rubrics or informal assessments. Let's say you're walking around the class and you just want to record how students are doing. docAppender lends itself well to that. So what is docAppender? Well, the best way to explain it is to show it. So here's basically the idea. Let's say you have a folder that has documents in it where each document pertains to a student. So I'll come over here to my Google Drive, and I'm going to go to my classroom folder. I'll use that as an example. So if I come here to Google Classroom, open up my classroom folder. If you use Google Classroom, you have a classroom folder. And then inside of there, I'm going to use my one from my rubric tools webinar. And then inside of there, let me grab one of my essays. I'm going to do essay assignment number 2. So here I have a folder that has 6 files in it from 6 different students, test user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This could be a folder with documents for each student for informal observation. So it could be a blank Google Doc for each kid, just maybe their name is at the top of it and that's it. So it doesn't have to be an assessment. It could be a document where you're keeping notes about how the student is doing in class. But the point is, it's a single folder with a list of documents. Each student has their own document. Okay, with that said, if I come over here and I find docAppender, here's my form I'm going to use for docAppender. The way it works is you basically build what you want to append onto those documents. So I have built a rubric in this case. I've got ideas, organization, word choice, and mechanics. I built a rubric, and what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to, from this form, pick the student's document, fill out the rubric, and let that get appended, stuck to the bottom of their document. So if I come over here and I look at test user 5's essay, at the moment, there's nothing there but their essay. If you scroll down, it's blank. It's just there's their essay, nothing at the bottom. It's all blank. Well, what I want to do, oh, hey, form recycler worked, Anthony. We'll come back to that. It grabbed yours. Okay, so if I use docAppender here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this form with this rubric, and I'm going to run docAppender and tell it to attach this form to this folder. And then anytime I use docAppender, I can just fill out the form and it will automatically take the responses from the form and stick it to the bottom of the student's document. In this case, for a rubric, but you could use it again for behavior observations, things like that. So let's run it. Come up to my add-on, come down to docAppender. There's docAppender. And say I want to open up the sidebar here. And once docAppender opens up, I have to choose the folder I want to use. So I'm going to pick from Drive. I'm going to pick that same folder we just talked about. So I'm going to go to my classroom folder. So let me head over to Classroom, see if I can find the Classroom folder. There it is. And inside of Classroom, let's open up Classroom. Let's find my rubric tools folder, and inside of there, essay assignment number 2. So I'm selecting that folder that's holding all of those. Now that I've done that, I'm going to hit next, and it's going to say, which question do you want to use? That's going to be the, hey, pick the student document drop-down list. Well, I made a question called select document. So I'm going to say, let's refresh the list here. Give it a second. I'm going to say select document is the question that I want to list all of the kids' documents in so I can pick it from that. So let's do that, and let's save that. And now select document, instead of being just blank here, is actually going to list all of the student documents. And there they are. There's essay user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there they got sucked in. Let's go next. And now it says, which of these questions do you want to stick to the bottom of their document? Well, I want to use ideas, organization, word choice, and mechanics. I want those 4 to get stuck to the bottom. Let's go ahead and enable that. And there we go. That's a little bit of setup, but now that it's set up, it's really, really easy to use. So let's go ahead and use it. So remember, this is essay assignment for test user 5. There's nothing at the bottom. If I go ahead and run this form now, if I go to the live view where it says select document, I can pick test user 5. It has sucked in all the files from that folder. Then I can say test user 5 got a 3 on ideas, a 4 on organization, a 3 on word choice, and a 2 on mechanics. And as soon as I hit submit, it should append that to the bottom of his document. Let's see if it works. Let's hit submit. Let's go over to his document. Give that a moment to run, and there it is. And now stuck on the bottom of his document is his rubric. Now, again, you could use this day after day after day, and it's just going to keep appending each time the new information you added. You could even choose to have it do the timestamp, and you'll have them time-stamped as well. And so this could be a running behavior record for each student, and you're just walking around the classroom with your tablet or your iPad or your Android tablet, and you're just clicking on this anytime you need to record information about the students. All right, we're just about out of time. Form Recycler did come up. Excellent, there it is. So Form Recycler did come up, and all you have to do to use Form Recycler is choose the questions that you want, including pictures. So I'll go ahead and pick a couple of these here that have questions and pictures. And after you pick the ones you want, you just click Insert Questions, and it grabs those questions from the old form, and yay, it works beautifully. There it is. So there's the question, there's the picture, there's another question. So yes, good job, Form Recycler. Again, apologize for the ones I chose, just must have been some bad examples. So excellent. All right, we're just about out of time, but let me at least show you very quickly Data Director, and I think, oh boy, we're just going to have to pretty much wrap it up just by showing these real quick. Data Director does a ton of things, but there's one thing it does that I think is really cool. Now, I think all the stuff it does is cool, but there's one really cool thing I like in Data Director. So let me show you Data Director real quick. Basically, Data Director can be used to do all kinds of stuff. Like you can send the responses to a different spreadsheet. You can send an email when somebody submits a form. You can add a guest to your calendar event. Okay, all that stuff's fine. There's nothing wrong with any of that. Look at the last thing it does. This one I actually really like. It can create and save an edit URL. And you may say, Eric, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean an edit URL? Here's the deal. When somebody fills out a form, there is an option you can check normally to say, let the user edit what they've submitted. Let them go back and make changes in the future. And if you check that box, it basically sends the user an email, or it puts a link up on the screen that says, hey, if you want to come back later and change your responses, you can use this link. Well, the thing is, people don't pay attention to that. They delete it, they close out of the screen, and then you don't have that special URL anymore. This will let you collect all of those edit URLs. Now you may say, Eric, why would you want to do that? Well, here's a use case. Let's say you want to do something like an emergency medical form or a parent contact form, and you want the parents to be able to update it every year without having to recreate the whole thing every time. You could create a form that asks for their name, their address, all this sort of stuff. You could turn on Data Director and let it save that edit URL. So next year, you simply send the parents that special URL that's unique to them. And guess what they can do? They can open up the form and just change what's new. So they don't have to redo the whole thing. They can just put in their new address, or if nothing has changed, nothing needs to change. So let me show you how it works. So I've created this form asking for your address information. If I come here and I launch Data Director, go ahead and turn that on. Moving fast here, we'll get through it. Let me turn it on real quick. So I'm turning on Data Director, and then I'm going to choose the alternate destination option because I do have to do that. It actually sends this link over to a different form. So I turn on alternate destination, and then I say, let's create a new form to hold this information in. And then I give it a name. We'll just call it Data Director DD Test. We'll just call it DD Test. And then I can say what gets included. Well, right here, the edit URL. I can say whenever somebody submits a form, send the data to the normal spreadsheet, but also send a copy to this other spreadsheet where we get the edit URL included. Bingo. Let's hit save. And let's try this out. So now that that's turned on, if we go to view this form, and I start to fill it out. So I put in my name, and I put in my email address. And then let's say I run out of time and I don't get everything filled in. So I get a few things in, maybe I get my state in, and that's it. I go ahead and submit this, okay? There we go. Normally, that's it. It's done, it's over. I wouldn't be able to get back to that form. But what Data Director has done is it's created a new spreadsheet. If I go to my drive, it should be sitting in the root of my drive. Let's do a quick refresh here and see if it's sitting there. Scroll down, down, down. Should be there. Come on. Oh, sort by last modified, Eric. That would probably help. There it is, DD test. Let's open it up. And would you look at that? I'll zoom in so you can see this. What you're going to see is we've got the timestamp, my name, my email address, my state. I didn't put in the street address or city or zip, but no problem. Scroll over and there's the edit URL, that special address that, let's say I need to come back and finish filling this out. Or maybe I did fill everything out, but I just want to say, hey, it's August again. Parents, please open up your form from last year and make changes. Well, let's try it. Click on this, click on the link. And look what it does. It opens up the form with my name, my email address, and my state already pre-populated. So the parent can just finish filling it out. They can say, sorry about that. I forgot to put in, where I was at here. So let's, this is not my real address. There we go, 520. And let's hit submit. And now what it's doing is it's going to update that. And so as you see, it's not a new record, it's just updating the existing record. So that's a really clever way that you could do that. Now it could be for kids completing or retaking a quiz, going back in and finishing a quiz. Because I've heard that people say, oh, forms are great, but whenever a student doesn't get done, they can't get back into it. Or they could, but they forgot to record the link or whatever. You could use Data Director to collect all of those. All right, last one, and we are out of time. Yes, Anthony?
Before you go on, just a reminder, Data Director, because you can use the Sheets add-ons, you could have it emailed back to them automatically by using one of the Sheet add-ons.
Right, yeah, what I would do is, obviously, it's just collecting that edit link. I would say, next August, when it's time for the parents to fill this out again, I would use yet another mail merge, and I would send them all an email that has that link embedded in there. So absolutely, I would not do that manually at all. I would definitely use yet another mail merge or autocrat or something like that to send them the link saying, please click this and update it for the new year. Last one, and I am sorry, we're going over just a little bit, but we won't charge anybody any extra. How about that, Anthony? The next 5 minutes are free. We will not actually charge them anything for the extra. Half price? Okay, so half of 0 is 0. This will cost you 0 as well. Okay, so last one here, advanced summary. Most of you guys know that when you do a Google form, it will create for you a nice summary. We all love that. It's nice, gives you bar graphs and pie charts and so forth. But there is a pretty neat add-on called an advanced summary that goes a little further, and it makes a little bit more sophisticated summary of bar graphs and pie charts, and it lets you filter. I've heard people ask that so many times. Can I see these bar graphs and pie charts, but only for the 6th grade students or only for certain things? And normally the answer is no. You just get a summary of everything. Well, advanced summary does let you do that. So let's go ahead and I'll open that one up. And that will be our final one here. And so let's go ahead. And what I've got, this is a survey from a couple years back on BYOD. So this is an actual survey. It does have data in it. Okay. We asked students, what grade are you in? What devices do you own? Did you bring them to school? What was good? What was bad? It was a BYOD follow-up survey. So if I come up here to my little add-on button and I choose advanced summary, what it does is it lets me create an advanced summary where I can choose which things I want to be able to filter by. And it gives me all of my questions down here. Now, I don't have to check things to include them in the summary. I'm just checking what I want to be able to filter by. So maybe I want to filter by their grade, and I want to filter by the different types of devices they own, but I really don't need to filter by anything else. That's enough. And at that point, just click on the little button to move over, and it's going to generate this advanced summary for me. And here it comes. And so now I get this really neat graph. Got my pie charts. I've got, oh, and it also does word clouds. So if you have a question where somebody is putting in a written answer, it'll create word clouds for you. And you can even hit the details below there if you want to see exactly what they typed, but you can get a nice word cloud as well, which is great. So pie charts, bar graphs, word clouds, all that's great. But what I really love is the filters at the top. So I could say, oh, this is really good data, but I wonder, was it different for our freshmen versus our seniors? Did the seniors bring in their devices more than the freshmen? Blah, 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 blah. So like, for example, I could say, let's come to what is your current grade level, and let's limit it to just grade 12. So if I do that, it refreshes this now. And now I can see, wow, it looks like when I chose grade 12, we had almost half of them owned a laptop and brought it into school. That's pretty big. But now let's come back up, take off grade 12, and let's do grade 9 instead. And wow, I own a laptop and I brought it into school, only 22%. So I can start drilling down into the data with these filters that I normally would not be able to. Whew, we got there. All right. All right. Well, good stuff. So as we start to wrap up, Anthony, are there unanswered questions? No? Oh, fantastic. Thank you for monitoring that. And thank you for those who have been in the chat, Doc, for all that you've been contributing to that as well. As we do start to wrap up, I do want to remind everybody that all of the resources from this session can be found at tiny.cc/spark235. Again, that's the webpage over here where you'll find the recorded video. Once this is done, you'll find the session resources, and I'm going to add a few more things for forms there. I got a couple other ones that might help you if you need a Forms 101. Below there, we still do have the evaluation for the session. Love to get your feedback on these things if you don't mind filling that out, and get yourself a certificate of attendance. Yes, take the quiz at the bottom, pass that, and you'll be sent a 1 contact hour PDF certificate of attendance. Now, while you're on the site, again, please do check out our PD schedule for upcoming webinars, check out our recorded trainings from all the past ones, sign up for the newsletter, and of course, contact us if you have any questions. Anthony and I are always happy to hear from you guys. Other than that, just want to say thank you guys so very much for taking the time to watch this session. Hope you found at least a couple of tools there that you can take and use in your classroom. We've got through about 8 or 9 of those and saw a few others to hopefully pique your interest. We hope to see you again over the coming weeks for more educational technology webinars. Take care.